Hi, and welcome to the third series of the Fancy a Brew podcast, talking about adventure, pushing your boundaries, and chasing dreams of underwater exploration. The podcast is supported by Dive Scuba Diving Centre, the one-stop shop for all your recreational and technical dive gear and training needs, boasting a 5-star service and their own in-house gas blending and equipment servicing department. For more information, take a look at their website, divelife.co.uk, or on Instagram and Facebook. In this series, I'm going to be chatting to some of the divers I've met along my scuba dive adventures in the last couple of years, ranging from boat skippers, stunt performers, and underwater explorers. So if that sounds like your cup of tea, grab yourself a brew, sit back, and enjoy this week's episode. Okay then, here it is, the start of season 3 of the Fancy a Brew podcast. So pretty much the start of 2021, I started recording for season 2. And shortly after that, I went down to Bristol and I attended the HSE Part 4 Professional SCUBA Divers course, which I hoped would allow me to get more involved in the professional aspects of scuba diving, whether that be media, scientific, some kind of archaeological type things, or even just, as a commercial diver, so getting involved with pool restoration or search and recovery, that kind of stuff. I was hoping it would really open up some new doors, and that it did. So I finished season 2, put that out there, and sort of dragged it out throughout the year, with the last guy being on there, Chris Lemons, of the Last Breath film, which for me was like one of the most ultimate guests I could get on. Even divers that didn't know anything about diving might have watched that film, so I thought it might bring in some, a greater audience, and that it did. It was really good. I went on from there, a few conversations that I'd had on the podcast, and developed, planned and executed the Expedition Western Ecology Tour, and we sort of labelled that Expedition Wet. Getting wet for science was our sort of tagline. We pushed that out through the BSAC's iScuba and Scuba magazine, and it got loads of support, and I can't thank any of you enough that did sponsor us on that. We raised quite a bit of money to put out to the 3 ecology or marine science groups that we worked with, which started off with Shark and Skate Citizen Science in Scotland. We moved down to North Wales, where we linked up with Jake, and we did some work with Project Seagrass to try and highlight the work that they do. Then we moved down to South Wales and worked with Neptune's army of rubbish cleaners. So we got loads of support while we were down there from Kerry and Lloyd Jones, and through David Kennard, who's sort of like the founder of NARC, and we used their shop and were supported by Haven Diving Services. So everyone who's involved in that, whether it be sponsorship or just sort of logistical support, I can't thank you all enough for that. It did sort of give us a really good kickstart to our summer. I then moved on and I worked as a gas blender for Bob Anderson, who's going to be a guest on this series. That was massively eye-opening. I'd never been to sea, certainly around the UK, in the sort of conditions that we were going to be able to dive in. I never worked as a gas blender, but Bob gave me a chance to go up there and work as part of his crew, which was great, to add to my CV of stuff that I'd done, but certainly try and inspire me to open up new doors, create new friendships and things like that. I then managed to blag myself onto the Darwin 200. It's a ship called the Pelican of London that was sailing around the UK on this sort of secret islands trip, as they called it. But they needed underwater cameramen. Now, I'm far from an underwater cameraman, but I do have an underwater camera and some knowledge of how to use it. So it's kind of if you help me use my camera better, I'll be more than happy, to support your trip. And that they did. So I got on it, did a couple of weeks on there, which was just immense. I've never sailed before, so to learn about a proper tall ship and the 30-odd people on there, to interact with them on a daily basis, sort of brought back memories from being in the army and experiences that I will probably never be able to recreate ever again. So can't ever thank everyone who was involved in that enough. And sure enough, I met someone on there, and she's going to be on this season of the podcast. Immediately as I got back, I got a phone call off Richie Stevenson. Andy, I need a dive supervisor. We're doing the one show, and it was for Scuba Escapes, which, as you know, we've had them on several times before. And he tried to introduce me to the other diver, which just happened to be Jake. So it's not like I can ever avoid Jake. Everywhere I go, he seems to be there, which is lovely because he's a real good mate of mine now. Come back off that, and totally out of the blue, I got like an email or it might have been a messenger on Facebook or something, that somebody was looking for divers to go and work on the set of Emmerdale that was doing this underwater scene, or either way, the stunt performers were falling into water and they needed somebody to do the dive safety for that. So for 2 weeks of this, the back end of the summer 2021, I worked as dive safety in support of this stunt team, and met some phenomenal people, which again inspired me to start training for the British Stunt Register, which if you do look into it, it's going to be some hard graft. A lot of sort of soul searching is going to be required on that, because it's going to be so hard, it's so consuming. You're going to need a mega amount of sort of personal resilience and support from your friends and family to get through it, as well as quite a bit of money, to be fair, because the training, it's almost like every day, twice a day, for it could be years, so in doing that, I've taken on quite a big undertaking. So fingers crossed I get through it and one day become a professional stunt performer. And in doing that, I met another guy, Leon. He's going to be on this season. So as you can see, I'm building up to this season with this sort of trailer that I'm putting out now. All the things I've done this year, I've met people that have inspired me to become a bigger and better person or diver or professional. And I've grown in ways that I didn't expect to. So I'm hoping that this season will sort of push you into a new sort of mindset of where you might want to go yourself as a diver. I've sort of forged new friendships through this podcast, and one of them was Ollie van Overbeek, and he's the owner of Dive Life, and that's based just north of Manchester, not too far from me. And it's a really good sort of community of divers that use the shop as a sort of central hub. It's like got a members sort of group, so they go diving together and they go on trips together, but it's anything you could imagine from recreational to technical divers could want, whether it be from a shop or from a support network or from servicing or sort of knowledge based to training. So if you want to be from your open water diver right up to your advanced trimix rebreather diver, or you want to be an instructor, anything like that, that's what they can offer you. So I'll be able to offer you some discount through the website's internet shop. You can use promotional code ATND10. That'll give you 10% off any internet purchases that are not already discounted. I've still not had COVID. I've had my third jab just before the new year that's just gone. So I'm still well and diving. Not perhaps as quite as much as I'd like to, because I'm too busy training. But, I've still got all the kit that I had before, my side mount, rebreather and all that sort of stuff. So whenever I get opportunity, I'll be either in the local quarry, or when it warms up a bit and the weather's a bit better, anywhere I can really along the coast. If you've not seen the podcast before, if this is new to you, you can find more of it on the YouTube or my Instagram, or you can even support us on Patreon if you want. There's loads of bits and bats going on all the time. It is my sort of dream to run expeditions again, and I'm going to be looking at running one at the back end of this year, hopefully out to the Canaries. So if anybody wants to be involved, just tap me up, let me know, and if I can get you involved in any way, whether it be to help us market it, help us support it, even come along and be a cameraman on it or a camera person. If you're interested and you like sharks and you fancy going to the Canaries later part of 2020, you've not got COVID, give us a shout. All the older episodes are still available, whether you find them on YouTube or you find them on wherever you normally get your podcasts from. So make sure you give them a listen, and if you've not already, please leave us a 5-star review and subscribe to the podcast. That way it gives us loads of motivation just to keep going, because I'm sure you can imagine there's quite a bit of work that goes into getting people involved in it, getting them on, having a conversation with them, doing all the post-production, getting the edits together and putting them out there for you to listen to while you're driving or doing whatever you're doing, and to try and inspire you to be the best diver you can be and open up as many avenues as possible. So if you do like the podcast, I can't thank you enough for being, a loyal subscriber and listener, and hopefully I'll see you at the dive show. So that brings us to the end of the episode. Don't forget to take a look at Dive Life's website and social media channels, as they always have some great deals available, and you can use promo code ATND10 at the checkout to get some money off any non-discounted items. For more information on this episode, take a look at the description or follow us on Instagram for all the latest news and upcoming releases. Thanks for listening. I'll see you on the next one.